produce a Q&A perhaps in this new live streaming format of the portrait mode. I haven't got my laptop. Well, I do. It's over there. It's just over there. But this is just me and you Q&A. So you better ask some questions. I need some engagement. Hello, Joe Gaskins. How are you, sir? Have you got any questions about producing music, life, anything? Let's do some Q&A. I've got my coffee here ready. We've got nice comfy chair. Hope you guys can hear me. All right. Where are you, Joe Gaskins? Are you from the US or the UK? Or somewhere else? Greywood. Hello. If you guys, Jack as well. Jack, I've got your track for mastering. I'm going to check over that after this, and then I'll crack on with that tonight or tomorrow. It's been a busy. Yesterday was really busy, so I didn't really get time to look at your track. But yesterday I had 4 hours of lessons, and I was promoting the new single as well, and I didn't even eat any food until about 9 o'clock at night. How to maintain solid high end without getting too harsh? That's a good question. It depends what the sounds are that you're using in the high end. So, for example, natural sounds that have high end information are going to be quite soft and nice. You know, imagine like like the sound of water. That's in the high end. That would be really soft, wouldn't it? But compare that, compare that with the sound of a saw wave, for example, which is really harsh in the high end. You know, so it's about what sound you fill out the high end with. So you could let's say you're making a bass with like saw waves. Yeah, you want to filter out the high end and then replace that with something else, you know? So replace the high end with some Foley or something like that, and then it'll be like softer up there. That's why I often use a lot of like white noise and stuff like that. When you're designing your basses, if you put white noise in the high end instead of like the pure like saw wave from the oscillator, then it's going to be a lot softer in the top. And then you can do other stuff in the top like chorusing and stuff like that to make it softer there. But yeah, it will be solid if you know the volume is up. It's going to be solid, and it's just a case of using the right sounds up there. You know, so especially with neurofunk basses. 100%. If you watch all my Vital tutorials, when I use a lot of the neuro basses, I will like low pass it or take out the high end first, you know, and then reintroduce the high end later with like some white noise or some like distorting the high end a little bit after it's been softened to bring up the high end again, that kind of stuff. But yeah, don't use pure saw waves or pure like square waves in the high end. Often it's going to be a bit harsh. Low pass them and then add in your own high end, which is a softer flavour of sound. Try different Foley sounds in the high end to make it softer, and then blend it in. How was your day? Pretty good. I woke up pretty refreshed. I went to the gym, had a nice little workout, bit of treadmill, bit of abs. Then I went in the sauna, which was very nice. Had a cold shower directly after to really give my system a shock. And then came home and I've just been teaching a couple of hours today. And then I've just been out for a burger. I just went out for a lovely burger and Coca-Cola, and just got home. It's about 6:30 here. I'm 3 hours ahead of Europe, 4 hours ahead of the UK. I've got no plans for tonight. I thought I'd come and chat to you guys for a bit and see what's happening. How would you recommend reusing a snare in multiple tracks, or should you use some more variation? Do you mean multiple tracks, like multiple different songs? Like, is that what you mean? If you're like creating an EP or creating more than one song and you want to not use the same snare, is that what you mean? Yeah, I would never use the exact same snare in more than one song. Simply because I would probably get bored of it. Like while I was producing, I'd want like a change. What you can do if you've got like a really killer, like one-shot snare that sounds good, you can always just add some variation to it by, again, like adding some Foley to it or layering something in the high end on the snare. Like you could layer a massive clap on it, or you could layer like some organic kind of drum or rim shot onto it or something like that, that will change the tone of it quite a lot. So you could use like the same main bass layer snare, but like use different layers on top to make it different in your different tracks. So yeah, there's probably times where I've used like the same snare sample, but I've processed it differently or layered it differently, so it doesn't sound the same. And each track that you work on, generally, the same snare is not necessarily going to work anyway, because the snare has to sort of fit with the rest of the sounds in the track as well, you know? Like, it's kind of important that the character of the snare is going to complement the leads or the basses. So you will want to like find a new edge to your snare in each track so that it will fit the new mix down of the new track. What do you use to make your low end solid? That's a great question. It's a little bit vague, but if I would answer it, I would say keep it incredibly simple by really maximizing the use of good sine wave power. Most sine waves don't need to have anything done to them. You know, sub bass is obviously the sine wave. A good kick drum will have a good sine wave in it, and just playing to the strength of the sine wave and putting it at a high volume and making sure nothing else is interfering with it. That's the key to having a good low end. No interference from anything else disrupting the sine wave. Because if you remember, and if you think about a speaker, you know, realistically in the low end, the most powerful sound for a speaker to create will be a sine wave, you know? So the more you go away from the sine wave in the low end, and the more you interfere with sine waves in the low end, the weaker your low end is going to become. So just keep it simple. Get that. Yeah, pay attention to that powerful sine wave treatment in the low end, and don't try and stray too far away from it. And don't let things interrupt it. I hope that answers your question. How do you find your inspiration, please? That's a difficult one. Inspiration for what? To make a new song? Right now, I've got a bit of inspiration, but I've got a little bit of RSI in my wrist. It's not from that. It's not what you dirty mind people. No, I'm just here with my laptop and I'm using the trackpad again, and it's like really screwed up my wrist, and I can't really use it much anymore. So I need to buy a mouse. But in general, to be honest, bro, the biggest way I get inspiration is through travel. That's why I travel a lot. Every time I travel somewhere new, I get inspired to make a new track. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like flying to another country either. Like even if you go like on a little adventure or go on like a day trip or something in your own country, like go somewhere you've never been before, that's quite inspiring to me, like doing a bit of adventuring or traveling. Because yeah, if you're sitting around all day doing nothing, then yeah, inspiration's not really gonna come, you know? Like, it's different for everyone. People will find inspiration in different ways. Like, I will sometimes find inspiration in a good movie or a good book. That might inspire me to make a song. But really like getting outside, being active, going for a bit of an adventure, like just switching off from the computer and technology world for a while. That's a good way to get quick inspiration, I think, for me. And yeah, once you've got a good idea and good inspiration for a track, try and make a whole concept out of it. You know, try and put some thought into making a like a masterpiece. Like, treat every song like its own little masterpiece. Don't just like have no kind of like concept when you go in, because you'll quickly lose focus and lose interest unless you've got a good concept. You know, that's how I've always found it. If I really want to start a new track and, you know, from start to finish, make it sound really great, I'll need a good concept to keep the interest up. So yeah, with traveling, for example, I went to Marrakesh in Morocco last December, just for 5 days or something. Really cheap flights, cheap hotel, cost me like nothing. And I used that trip to get inspiration for a song. And so I recorded some sounds out there, and then some random shit happened, like some idiots like threw a snake on me and wanted to get my money, so that because I was wearing the snake that he threw around my neck. And so this kind of stuff, random stuff happened, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna just make a track about this. So I'll make a track and I'll like use some like snake noises and like, so I made a kind of snake themed D&B minimal roller track, which is finished already. But that's gonna come out like in a month or so, because I just released a track yesterday already. Have you guys checked out the new track, Orthodox? Did you like it? It's nice because I have a job and it's my hobby. Maybe one day more, but I find it hard to sit and make a track. That's great advice, thank you. Concept. Yeah, man, just map it out. It could be like a 3-month project or a 6-month project. Just make one like wicked song and take your time with it. Make a whole concept. Think about what different sounds you can use in the track, and like get some inspiration from some other artists, and like think about what kind of sounds you want to try out, and then yeah, take your time with it. Build a little masterpiece, one piece at a time. If you're busy with your job and everything like that, then just make a little side project out of it and give yourself a little deadline, like 3 months or 6 months to write this little masterpiece, and then just do a little bit here and there. But keep the concept like a really interesting concept, so it will keep you engaged to finish it. Hello, Nine Wrenches in New York. How are you doing, sir? Does you one-on-one sessions have an influence on your tracks? That's a great question. Yeah, they do, definitely. Sometimes like directly, and sometimes indirectly, because sometimes I'll often actually someone will make me explain something in a new way. Like someone will ask a really difficult question and I'm like, oh, that's a great question. Why do I do that actually? And how do I explain that to someone? And so I have to sometimes think about how to explain a concept to someone in a new way so that they understand it. So does it influence my tracks directly? I don't know, maybe. I'm sure there's been a couple of moments during a session where I've had a bit of inspiration that's led to influence a track, but I can't remember a specific example. But it's definitely like when I'm teaching someone, it's not always one way. You know, it is I do get a lot of stuff back from the students as well, sometimes good ideas. So yeah, definitely. Filver, sometimes I let the track I make play over headphones that lay 2 meters away, and then I hear things that weren't there, and after that I try to add what I thought I heard. Strange to explain. Oh, I know what you mean. I've done that before as well. Yeah, my headphones over here, as you see. Can I switch this around? I probably can, can't I? By the way, in case you want to see my traveling setup, all I've got is my Audeze headphones with the cable that I detach when I'm traveling, and then I've got this, and this is important because it plugs into my MacBook Air, and it actually it gives my headphones more power, because if they're directly into the laptop, they're not loud enough. So actually, the only reason I need this is to make the headphones louder. It's not even got an amp, but it just makes them louder, you know. And I bought this cable like where is it? Oh yeah, I bought this cable like 2 days ago. It's like a USB-C to HDMI. Cost like 40 quid or something. It's quite expensive, but at least I can play it on the TV. But anyway, why was I saying that? Oh yeah, the headphones. Yeah, because they're like open back ones. They're really, really loud. So yeah, I can hear like music coming out of them like really loudly from the other room. So I've done that before, where I've heard, like, I've let the music play through the headphones, and then I've heard things in the mix, like from coming out of the headphones far away. I've heard the mix differently, and it has actually helped. It more helps like in this stage of production when you're still training your ear. Like, I don't really do that stuff now. Like, I used to lie down under my desk. Like, I would literally, I'd have the speakers on. I'd have the speakers like playing out the tune, and I'd be lying under my desk, and I would hear like it would be like a bit rumbly, you know, from like, because the desk is obviously in the way, and it's a bit like muffled. And I would actually listen to the mix like that, and I'd hear the low end differently, and then it would reveal things to me. But as I've gone on and become more arrogant in my skills, no, just more confident in my skills, I tend to only just do the just directly with the headphones on my head technique now. But when you're like learning, it's definitely good to like listen to your mix in loads of different ways. It doesn't have to be different headphones. Like, you can do that, like listen from a different room, listen from outside of your cans or under the desk, or all this stuff. Hello, Greedo. How are you? Patience, I suppose. Yeah, I try to rush it. Chris. Yeah, Chris, you need to build a bigger concept in your head, make the project a big deal, and then you'll be able to take your time to finish it. If it means something to you more, you know, if you're just making a song for the sake of it, doesn't have any meaning, then you're not really going to bother, you know. But if you put something like, I don't know, let's say you dedicate the track to one of your lost relatives or something like that, go really deep with it, you know, then obviously then you're going to be more motivated to finish it, you know. The snake's neck story does spark the imagination. Yeah. Well, the snake charmers, they were playing like the snake charming flute, and I was trying to record it. And so I thought I'd use that sound in a track. And I did end up using it, I think, in the intro or something. It was a weird sound to mix. It was a bit difficult to fit it in because it was a weird pitch. It just didn't really work. But I think I reverbed it out and hid it in the background somewhere. So yeah, Filver, like I said, yeah, I did stuff like that, weird stuff, listening to the mix in different ways back in the days. LCD2C crew represent. You got the LCD2s as well, Greedo. That's epic. Interesting, you use an interface as an amp. I'm guessing in case you need to plug in an instrument as well. Yeah, well, honestly, I didn't realise this. Because it's not actually an amplifier. This doesn't actually have a headphone amp in it. But before I came traveling here, I tested out the headphones just on my laptop, just because I wanted to be able to do mastering while I'm away. And I tested them out, and they just weren't really loud enough to like master stuff. So I was like, damn, I'm gonna have to bring my desktop or something. But then I just tried it with the interface into the laptop, and they were like much louder. And I was like, okay, so that the interface obviously does boost the volume of the headphones enough, so I can actually like master, mix and master tracks just with that. Yeah, greetings from Germany. I'll be back in Germany next month sometime, March or April. I'm not sure when. I have got a flight booked back, but I don't know if I'm going to change it yet. Just listened to your new track. Love it. Thanks for doing what you're doing. It's given me inspiration as I felt a bit down with it all. Grateful. Going to listen to all your music over the next. Oh, thank you so much, bro. Well, that. Just you saying that has made it worth me coming on here as well. Because to be honest, I was also feeling a little bit down today, and I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do today. It's like the weather's a bit crap. I don't really have any plans. Just like, what am I going to do? And I thought I'll just come on here and try and spread some knowledge. Hopefully, help someone. So great that you're able to get a bit of inspiration from this. Yeah, have a great day, man. Guido's 95% on your monitors nowadays. So that's good, man. I would if I could, you know, if I had the perfect studio setup. Maybe one day I will. You guys can all pray for me. Pray that Artifact one day gets really rich and has a perfect studio home setup, and then he can be the what's his name? The music review guy, Beatman, Richard Beato. I can be the Beato of drum and bass. Yeah, man. I used to mix in monitors back in the day. It's more fun in a way because you really feel like the stereo image, like it's nice and live, and it is good fun. But because I don't have the perfect, absolute, amazing studio setup in my Audizies, it's I know that I'm not going to make any mistakes. I know that all the mixing decisions are going to be spot on because I just know them so well, and they just sound so good. They just can't really beat them. Yeah, it's just a volume booster. The amp, the interface. I didn't expect it. It obviously just boosts the Audizies just enough so they're just loud enough. When I do my Zoom lessons, sometimes students will complain because they're like they have to turn their system up loud so I can hear it because I have to have my interface on full power so I can hear the Audizy like clear enough. So I'm always at full volume on my side. Because you're supposed to have an interface. You're supposed to have an amplifier for the Audizy LTD2s. And I was gonna get one, but I have a few producer friends in the industry. One of them, who you probably know, is Millbrook, who is an amazing producer, and he also uses the Audizys without an amp. And I thought, well, if you're doing it, then I can do it as well because your tunes are sick. So they will be louder and a little bit better with an amp, but you don't need an amp for them, to be honest with you. But the interface definitely makes a nice difference. Had your LCDs for 3 years? Yeah, I think I've had mine for longer. I think I've had mine for about 5 years maybe. But they broke once and they repaired them for me for free, which was amazing. I had to pay, what did I pay them for? I paid them. I think I paid them for the labour to repair for the engineer to repair it in the UK, but they paid for the new part, which I think was like going to be 300 or 400 euros or pounds. So it saved me loads of money. I basically just bummed them a lot and said, look, you know, I've actually got people to buy these headphones, you know, from people that have watched my YouTube videos. Some of my students have bought them as well. Can you please help me fix these? I was gonna do some sponsorship work for them at one point, but it never really worked out. But they, but they're very amazing. The customer service for Audizy is incredible, and they were really nice to me. They fixed mine for free, so I can't really complain. You will be an amazing artist. Are you talking to me? I already am, mate. Did you see Gla1VE talking about you on his live this morning? Who is that? I don't know who that is. And what were they saying? Hopefully nice things only. Rick Beato is legend. Yes, I agree. Yeah, I want to be the Rick Beato of drum and bass. Just be in some pimped out studio, just analysing songs talking about the intricacies of the snare layer for 20 minutes and just get paid to do that. That'd be great. For me, it's the fear of tinnitus. Became pretty afraid of headphones lately. Hard to self-control myself to watch out for volume boosting. I know what you mean. I get this notification on my in-ear earbuds, my Sony earbuds I use like out and about and at the gym and stuff, and it always like bleeps and goes, "Oh, you've been listening to music too loud today," and I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm in trouble. I'm going to go deaf." But I'm actually, you guys don't know this, but I'm actually going to be a novelist. I'm going to be a writer. So when my ears go deaf, I'm just going to start writing instead. I'll just be an author. So it's all right. Yeah, I'll just rinse them out until that happens. I still use my cans as a quick second opinion though. Yeah, definitely. For me, it's the first opinion, but I don't know what your monitors. What monitors have you got, and how good is your studio setup? Sounds like it's pretty good if you're using that over the Audeze. Darren Dover, you are funny. I know. Mark Reader, I'm currently using Ableton Live, and I'm considering picking up a second DAW. Any thoughts on Logic versus Bitwig? What do you guys think in the chat? Logic versus Bitwig. You guys probably know a bit more than me. I've had one student, Malcolm, who uses Bitwig. He showed me some awesome things in it. Really cool stuff. I don't know why you'd switch from Ableton anyway, because I think Ableton is one of the best ones. And if you already know it, I don't know what would be the benefit to swapping. I mean, the only thing about Logic that I like is just bouncing stuff to audio in lightning speed. But apart from that, Ableton is pretty good too. Most people would argue Ableton's better than Logic, but we'll fight them to the death. I think I couldn't really say Logic versus Bitwig. If you want something new, then Bitwig, I think, because it's probably got some new features, and there's some cool stuff you can do in the routing that seems really advanced. You know, it depends how much time you've got to explore all the new features and how advanced you want to be, you know. I like Logic because I can keep things simple and just, you know, get my track finished quickly. Glaive is a hyper pop artist. He was talking about a new producer he found named... Oh, well, that's great. Someone's discovered me. I don't know what hyper pop is. It sounds horrendous. Okay. Tips for melodies. Yeah, easy. There's only a certain number of melodies in the world, and all of them have already been done. So just find one that you like and use it again. You're rarely going to write a whole new melody that no one else has done before. Or, you know, you can find a new way to play a melody with a new... You can, you know, invent a new instrument and play a new melody and reverse it. Maybe then it'll be different. But really, you know, how much music is there already in the world from beginning of time until now? How many melodies are there? They've all been done. So my tip for you, study some older music, look at some of your favorite music for inspiration, pick out a melody, copy it. Simple as that. Change one or two notes if you're feeling bad. Yeah, or if you want to really improve yourself as a musician, then why not learn about scales and learn about jazz piano and learn how to improvise, so you can improvise your own melodies. Yeah, but if you're not musically trained, then go back to an old Black Sabbath song and copy a guitar riff and put that in your vital synth, mate. You'd be fine. How would you go about don't anyone like chop this now and be like, oh look, Artifact tells you to go and steal music from other bands and make it your own. How would you go about recreating drums from an audio drum loop? I'm not sure what you mean there. How would you go about recreating drums from an audio drum loop? Do you mean like redesigning every drum hit yourself in the synth and trying to copy the groove, or do you mean like how would I chop a break? Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean there. Fruity Loops? Yeah. Loads of people still use Fruity Loops. It's amazing how many students I have that use Fruity Loops and they love it. And I watched them doing their little routing through the matrix for like an hour to get this little one thing done. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. I love that people still use it. It has some wicked features. It's just sometimes the most simple things just take forever on that program, from what I've seen. But kudos to anyone who makes tracks with it. You know, your boy Imanu makes bangers with it. Emperor, and my boy Rekiv on the label uses Fruity Loops, and he's an absolute G with that as well. Great program. I started with Fruity Loops. That's how I got into production. The only reason I switched was because my university all had Macs and with Logic, and I had to switch to for the degree. But yeah, can't forget the Fruity Loops gang. I want to switch to Ableton from FL. FL is trash. Yeah, I mean, probably you're going to be a lot faster with Ableton, I imagine. Good morning, Andy Wilson from New Zealand. Hope you're well. I'm doing a lot better actually now I came on here. I was a little bit bored earlier, and this has actually made my evening now. So thanks to you guys for joining. Keep the questions coming. The more questions that you keep coming, the more I'll keep going. Good morning from... Oh, sorry, I read that one already. Bitwig is more targeted towards modular workflow. Yes, I see it like I almost see it's like an FL Studio kind of routing patcher back end, but the front end seems quite Logic / Ableton user friendly. It feels like a more user friendly version of Fruity Loops, perhaps. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys probably know more about it than me. I've only had one student, or maybe two, that I've taught with Bitwig. And it looked pretty cool from what you can do on it. It did have some really cool features. It's just, I think just finish the bloody song you're already working on in your DAW and get on with it. It's almost like the same thing as just buying new plugins just because you can't bother to finish the song, or you can't be bothered to really do the meat and bones mix down work to improve your actual track, But yeah, if you're I don't know, if someone was starting new, I would say Logic or Ableton, maybe Bitwig, but I don't know enough about Bitwig really. But yeah, I've pretty awesome monitors and okay-ish room, somewhat know how to tackle its flaws. That's cool, bro. Again, the only thing is, if you're making all your mixed decisions with your monitors in your room, you're checking on your cans, so that's probably fine. Just make sure that when someone else hears it on their system, it also sounds great. It also translates well, For me, I know that the Audacies, what I do on those, although it's not as fun as the monitors, I know what the decisions that I make on there tend to more or less translate well everywhere, So whether all the mix decisions I do in the Audacies, they'll sound good on my in-ear earbuds when I listen later. They'll sound good in the club later when someone decides to book me again. They'll sound good in a car, whatever. I know that what I'm doing on there is going to translate well. So just make sure that if you're doing stuff on your monitors, it translates well to other places, and then it's fine. The main things I'm looking for are collaboration with others and stability of Bitwig with plugins. Okay, but you're coming from Ableton. I mean, I wouldn't have guessed that there was stability issues with plugins for Ableton. I've not really heard of people having those kind of problems. But perhaps Bitwig is known to do that even better, or I don't know. Does Bitwig also Is Bitwig easier for collaborating with people? I'm not sure. Perhaps. Are you black? Yes, I identify as a black man. Yes. I really identify as an LA street thug from the late 80s, early 90s. That's I'm trapped in a white man's body with a weird kind of facial hair, but I do identify as a hoodlum from LA suburbs. Well, I hope I do anyway. Let's hope so too. I think both have their respective use. Lots of artists use FL, but Ableton is just more pro, while FL is easy to use. I don't know if I agree. I find Ableton looks easier to use from what I've seen. It looks like a much faster workflow. And the EQ has at least an analyzer where you can actually see the frequencies, and it's not like a blind man trying to cross the road EQing with the parametric nonsense. Music is full. Bro sounds like he knows nothing. Yeah, this head is pretty damn empty, to be honest. Not much in there, just a lot of air. Yes, copying the groove. How would approach mixing the different elements in D&B regarding leaving transients to be caught by your master chain limiter maximizer? Ooh, he's in trouble already. Or is there another way of approaching this better? That is a horrible idea. Leaving the transient issues to be fixed by your limiter. No, please don't. Please stop. This is going to start an argument again. No, I can't condone putting a limiter or maximizer on your master chain ever. Just leave it clean, bro. Just put a clipper on it, please. I beg you, mate. You can spot those transient issues directly as and when they happen. You know, if you've got hats that are too sharp, you put a transient shaper on and you soften them. If you've got something else that's your snare's you've layered your snare terribly and there's too much of a sharp transient on, you can fix it in the channel, you know? All these transient issues, you have to remedy them straight away on the sound that's got the issue. There's no point leaving it to happen later, because it's going to result in a much worse mix down if you don't fix it straight away. The limiter can't fix like all the mistakes that you've made just in one go. No. Exquisite Tash, thank you. I need to trim it. It's got a little bit out of hand. Needs a bit of tidying up, but I haven't got my Tash scissors with me, so also I don't have a shaver with me. That's why I've got this ridiculous facial hair. What's up? I've been doing music for about 5 years. I have problems putting sounds together. Do you have any tips? Okay, that's a very vague question. And also, if you've put for 5 years putting sounds together. All right. Is it a real question? Is it a troll question? Let's pretend it's a real one. I have problems putting sounds together. Learn about what sounds fit in which place in this frequency spectrum and use the right composition so that the sounds that you pick will work with each other and are not fighting for the same space. Each sound, most music is made up from sounds that will generally work together, so just follow the formula which already exists and you'll be fine. If you want a more specific question that doesn't involve how do I put sounds together, if you can be more specific, then I'll happily answer that. The best reference is having several references. Yeah, I completely agree. You do get to a point sometimes where you just know what you do. You know the system you're working on is going to translate well to something else. So in that case, then like you don't need to always keep referencing on loads of different things. You know, it's for me that was really like a in the first few years. I mean, it actually took many years to train my ear to the point where I don't feel like I have to reference on everything now. I think you'll get to that stage where you're just really confident with the setup you've got. You know it translates well. You know how it's going to sound on other systems, and you'll just be confident in your one good setup. For me, in my case, it's my Audeze, but for you, it could be your monitors. But referencing with many things is always good, though. Don't get me wrong; it's always good, and it always helps you improve your ear. I'm just saying that you don't have to do it forever, you know. I've had Mark Reader says that I have a number of crashes in Ableton. Bitwig does plugin isolation, so if one crashes, it won't take out the whole DAW. Okay. I have a few friends who use Logic and Bitwig, so collaborating with them. All right, I got you. Well, as a fellow patron supporter and a student of mine, I would say, you know, get Logic, because I use Logic and it would be easier for me. But yeah, whatever you feel fit, mate. With Logic, you know, you get in the classic, you know what it does. With Bitwig, bit more new school, might be some cooler there is some cooler features and new things you can do in there that you can't do in Logic, but it's not gonna make you a better producer, you know. You're not gonna not be able to make an excellent track in Logic. So keep it classic with Logic, or be prepared for a bit of new experimentation with Bitwig. I wish you luck in your journey either way, and I'm sorry to hear about your Ableton crashes. That does sound a bit unusual. Yeah, I don't really ever get that in Logic these days. But I don't use many plugins either. I don't really have that many. I mean, on my laptop now, what I've got here, I've maybe got like five or six plugins that are not the Logic stock ones, like real basics. I went through the stage of, you know, like when you get a new computer and you want to bring all your plugins over. I tried to do the exact opposite. I was like, with my new computer, I'm gonna not bring any of them over unless I'm absolutely desperate for one of them. And if there's if I'm gonna keep producing without any of them. And if I get to a stage in the song where I'm like, oh, I really need this one, then I'll do it. And in that process, I think I've dragged over like 5 of my old plugins. So the rest of them are just the stock ones. And then you've got like, I don't know, like Span, LFO. I don't know have I got LFO tool? I haven't even got the LFO tool. I've just got the Melda production one, the tremolo. What else did I get over? Just my mastering compressor, because I bought that and it's got like licenses for 2 things. The Shadow Hills one, just for the mastering stuff. Phase Plant, I got that over as well. Vital was free. I don't think I really did anything else apart from that. The best spot to place my workstation in a rectangular room. Oh well, you want it long ways. You want like the issue. I'm not an expert with like room dynamics, but I know this much is you want the speaker. the key is that you don't want too much reflecting off the walls. So if you've got a rectangular room and you're gonna not do it long ways, so if it's like sideways, like let's say the room is this way long and you're doing it this way, so then it's going to be a shorter distance to the wall behind you and you're going to get more reflection off the wall behind you like faster, so that's going to create more reflections of sound, which is going to make the room less accurate, because it unless you have to deaden the wall. But if you do it long ways, then it will take a longer time for the sound to reach the back wall, and by the time it reflects back, it's like it's traveled further, so you've had a more you've had that intimate, real sound of the speaker in front of you, like more uninterrupted by the reflections. You know, if that makes any sense. I think that's right. So, that's what I was taught at uni anyway. With sound placement, if you've got a rectangular room, you want to be having the long way of the room behind you, if you can. Do you ever tune your drums to a specific key? This is a good question. Something I used to think about a lot. No, not anymore. I will tend to leave the drums exactly how they are, never pitch them, and then find out what pitch they're in, and then write the track in that pitch, generally. I find that pitching around kicks and pitching around snares tends to just make them worse. You know, you might be able to get away with it a little bit here and there, a deep, a semitone up or down a little bit, but finding those perfect one shots is so like difficult already that when you've got one that works, I don't want to like touch it. Once I found that great kick drum that I like and that great snare that I like, I'm not touching it. It's like, okay, I found it, hallelujah, we're going to use it, I'm not going to mess with it, you know, because it's so like finding that right one that's just going to make your track is like a key moment in designing your track. So when you found it, I don't really ever want to pitch it because that's going to just change it again. So drums are naturally quite atonal, so they don't have as much of a tone as, you know, like a piano, obviously. But they do have some. Kick drum has a lot less. It's a bit more like, it's a big rounded sine wave in the low end, and it's a bit of a boomy thing, you know? So it will have a pitch, but it's not super detectable by the ear exactly what pitch a kick is. You know, you've got a bit of leeway. When you get up to the snare, depending on what your snare is, if it's a higher pitched one, a poppy one, then it's going to have much more of an obvious tone and pitch to it. And in that case, you're going to be making sure that it's sort of in the scale of your track. But yeah, so to answer your question in general, the drums will naturally have a certain pitch to them, particularly the snare, and maybe any other like elements, like if there's any other bongos or toms, they might have a pitch to them. But I will tend to let the drums be how they are, how they've been recorded or how they've been sampled or whatever. If you like, I tend to use samples, obviously. You know, if you're designing your own hits from scratch, then it's different. You know, you can choose what pitch you want. But if you're choosing drum samples or you've recorded drums, I would tend to leave them as they are and then just write the track around what pitch they're in. Simple way is just like make a drum beat first, which is what I usually do, and then it'll have a bit of a natural pitch to it, and I'll just figure that out by playing a synth with it, you know, playing a vital bass with it or something, or a saw wave or whatever. You'll find the best note that like fits with those drums, you know. So I tend to like let the drums be their natural pitch and work with that, if possible. Great questions, guys. Keep them coming. We're almost at 1 hour. Do you have a pre-master bus, or how do you handle summing from your group buses? Yeah, so most importantly, no, not a pre-master bus, no. Most importantly, the master channel is absolutely clean, always, just a clipper and a span, nothing else, because anything that's wrong in the track needs to be fixed in the groups or the individual channels. Nothing should be fixed in the master, because you want the best mix down you can get without any cheating. That being said, how do you handle summing from your group buses? Yeah, the group buses will go into the master directly and then be clipped there. That's it, really. The group, for me, obviously, people have different ways. We know that already. But the group buses, I might have, maybe I'll have like 7 or 8 in the end, group buses, drums, there might be like some subfolders in the groups. You might have like cymbals, percussion, and then they go into drums, and then drums go to master, you know. Basses might have like Reese bass, stab bass. They might go into all basses, and then all basses go into master. But there's no all the final big main groups, they'll go directly to master and clipped. And then any processing you want to do, if you want to use one of your toys that you've bought like a €9,000 AI Neutron, I don't know what they're called, Neon plugin that's just like revolutionary. Just put it on your at least put it on your bass bus or your drum bus, not the master, and then just like do a bit on the group processing with it. Then at least you've got a bit of extra control between the groups, you know, and you're not trying to do it all on the master channel. Sorry if I offended anyone. Okay, it's very vague, true. Now we're back to you. Great. I want to do a dubstep, and I find it very hard to copy a specific style of dubstep. My brain does not know how to translate it into my workflow. Does that make sense? Yeah, well, why would you want to copy a style of dubstep? But, okay, it sounds like you, when you've been producing for 5 years, but maybe, I don't know, maybe you need more time. But when you're starting out, it's difficult to get the style that you want in your head into your workflow in the door. It doesn't always work straight away. It might take you a few more years. I don't know how long you might need, but it's not always that easy. It took me many years. I've been producing for over 10 years, and I'm only, even now, I couldn't just copy something exactly and make it, you know, perfect. It's always going to be a little bit of random and a little bit up to luck and a little bit up to you how it's going to work out. So yeah, don't worry about copying an exact style. I don't know why you would want to do that anyway. Maybe use it as an example and then just have fun and produce and try to copy it. But if it becomes different, then that's probably better. Don't worry that it's not the same. Just keep practicing is all I can really say. In the general sense, keep practicing, learn more, just learn more about synthesis, learn more about sound design, learn about what are the particular sounds that they're using, how do you make those, try learn how to make them, that kind of stuff, you know. Just keep learning, keep being a student, and don't worry if you can't copy the exact sound. Aren't clippers hurting the transients? For me, it feels a bit counterintuitive chopping off the peaks super hard. No, they won't. As long as you fix the transients before it goes into the clipper, you know? So the clipper is just there to keep things from popping over zero. And that means that when you bounce out the song, what you hear in your project right now is going to be what you get when you bounce it out. Yeah? So if you're hearing something and it sounds like it's been chopped off and the peaks are super hard as you're hearing it, then there's obviously a problem in the mixdown you need to address. You know, it's not the clipper's fault. It's something that you've done in the mixdown wrong. I never thought about doing it in reverse. That's a cool concept. Doing what in reverse? I can't remember what you said now. Oh yeah, tuning the drums to a specific key. Yeah, well the thing is, like, I feel that the quality of drums will change when you start pitching them around too much. That's why I prefer to use what pitch they're already in and try and go with that, because you sort of change the quality of them when you start pitching them around too much. Night's mix. I'm the type who thinks that getting more gear and plugins will make my music better. It's a bad thought process and a bad habit. Help. Yeah, that's no problem. We've actually, we've got an online rehab set up now. You just have to go to www.patreon.com/art1fact. And if you join there on the Fire Team tier, you'll get in the Discord, and we have a team of nuns who will happily greet you and massage you and make all of your problems go away. And you'll come out after a month from the rehab with a fresh, renewed soul, and you will realise after all that you were already good enough as you were, and everything that you've been sold was a lie from the devil. Okay. I know a lot of harder breakcore users. I know a lot of harder breakcore uses pitch shifting to make melodies and stuff. Okay, I'm not a breakcore expert here, but I find making breaks in Addictive Drums fun because you can give it a recorded feel and play around with the tone. Yeah, you're probably right. There is absolutely nothing wrong with pitching around drums for fun. I just want to put that out there. I'm coming at it with the sense of I'm always thinking of how I can make like a pro quality drum and bass track that's very modern. That's my mindset always. I always think in terms of high quality modern drum and bass songs. So that's where I always come from. In that respect, I prefer like a really clean, natural, high quality drum sound. So when the drums have been picked out, the best samples, or recorded the best way, I want to keep them like as they are without pitching them around to get like a high quality, natural drum sound, Did you guys listen to the latest track, Orthodox? The drums in there are really cool. Some of they're definitely samples I got from a pack, but there's some cool breaks and stuff in there as well though. But it's that those were like picking the right samples that worked with the rest of the sounds and just kind of letting them do their job and not pitching them or not doing much to them, just like composing well with them. If you've got really good drum samples, you want to compose like around them to make them like shine how they were designed to already be. That's how I think about it. So for that kind of style of drum and bass anyway. Yeah, with breakcore and other random stuff, you can go nuts if you want. Change your brain. Oh, I wish I could change my brain. It's far too late for me. I'm way too far gone. Yeah, I'll just rewire my neurons. Exactly. I know that grip is tight. Yeah. Melissa? Who's Melissa? Can I have her number? Awesome feedback, thank you. Do you enjoy working with other producers? Nah, I hate them. No, I do. Do you ever reach out to artists to collab? Nah. Not these days. I'm working on is it 3 collaborations? I'm really lazy at the moment with producing. I don't know what's gotten into me. I'm having a bad season for producing. I think it's my wrist. It just hurts too much. I can't really use the laptop. I need to buy a mouse. But I'm actually working on a collab with a drummer. So I like to work with other producers. I do enjoy it. You do learn a lot. But I genuinely prefer collaborating with someone who's not a producer, who's just a musician, like a vocalist, or who else am I supposed to be collaborating with? I've collaborated with loads of beatboxers. That's been really good fun. I've collaborated with vocalists like Reebs. That's been a lot of fun. Now I'm collaborating with a live drummer. I want to collaborate with like a violin or a cello player or a double bass player. That'd be awesome. The thing about working with other producers, that's great, and I advocate to do that. But sometimes it can be like too many chefs in the kitchen. I don't really I like it when everyone has their role, and like if you're 2 producers, like 2 drum and bass producers trying to make the best drum and bass track, there's gonna be arguments. Obviously, like that's not always the case. Loads of people collab and make bangers, but in a really general sense, it's like you kind of got two people doing the same job, you know? Two producers already good, already know what they're doing. For me, it's just more fun that I'm the producer, you're the performer. You know, I'd rather collaborate with people in the performance side of the industry rather than another producer. Because like if you think about like the big scale music industry, like you're not really going to have like if you're like in some fancy, like, I don't know, what is it, Abbey Road studio or something, like you're going to have the producer, you're going to have the band, you're going to have like whoever else. You're not going to have two producers like arguing about what dB to put the snare at. Like it's going to be one guy doing that. So yeah, from that perspective, I prefer to be the producer and work with other artists who are not good at producing, who are good at other skills. You know, it's like getting the most out of a piece of music would be everyone has their specific role. So if I'm the producer, I'd prefer to have someone else to work with who's not a producer, so I can play my role like 100%. That's my role, and someone else is doing their role of being a performer or whatever, you know? That's not to say, though, that you can't collab with other producers, and I have done as well. It's just not as fun for me. Listening to it now, I really like some of the traditional jungle stuff you threw in Orthodox, and the pumping effect on the vocals really makes the track bump. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's cool. I'm glad you like it. I didn't know if people would find it too weird because it's like a male choir and it's like a bit of an odd sound to use for drum and bass, but I enjoyed making it, and I like the way that it kind of fits with the bass. I think I really got the bass to sit really well in that one. It's got a nice powerful low end. A lot of my older tracks, when I listen back, I'm like, you didn't do a very good job on the low end there, mate. This one I think I did. I never get my tracks perfect, you know. Every new track I finish, for me, is never perfect. When I listen back to my older tracks as well, I can always pick something I don't like about them. But you can't let that stop you from publishing them, because otherwise you'll just never publish anything. So it's always about the vibe and the fun and the concept and the idea of the track has to come first. You know, like getting a perfect mix down should be something you strive for, but you might never ever always get it right. But for me, it's always just about the fun of the song. You know, that comes first. If I mess up the mix down a little bit, oh well. Yeah, I'm new to producing. The musician take is very interesting, makes perfect sense. Loosen that grip and maybe the wrist will feel better. Yes. Yes, thank you, sir. Very kind. Well, I wish you all the best on your production journey. Maybe if you are new to producing, then it would be a good idea to collaborate with other producers, because then you might learn a bit more about producing through them, you know? So I think actually if you're not confident as a producer, like really happy with their own tracks, publishing your own tracks, if you're not quite at that level, then it can be really good to collaborate with other producers, because they'll be able to help you and share some insight along the way, providing that they're half decent. Try and collaborate with people that are above your level. If they're the same level as you, it's okay, but if you can try and collaborate with someone who's better than you and just be like, look, you're better than me, show me your ways, I'll make you some tea and coffee while you do it and I'll watch, then that'd be quite good. What are common things that new producers are missing in their music? There's so many. There are so many things there. There's so many answers for that question. Maybe if I can think of 3 off the top of my head. I don't know. 3 pieces of advice. Don't just write one loop, like a 16 bar loop. Try and always write a whole song every time with an intro, a drop, a breakdown, an outro. Don't like just keep making loops because they get boring so quickly, and you'll lose motivation because you'll be working on this one little loop forever and you'll be sick of it in 20 minutes. So even if you're starting out, just practice writing the song from start to finish. It's going to help you with your learning how to do compositions. Don't just try and just make loop after loop after loop because it's going to be really boring for you. That would be number 1. Number 2, spend more time making music than watching tutorials, definitely. Like, don't just binge on YouTube for a whole evening and think that you're learning, like what you're doing now. I'm just kidding. Actually make sure you put in at least 80% of your spare time in your DAW on your own, figuring shit out, and 20% of the time learning stuff. But don't, 50-50 is way too much. You need to do more in the DAW on your own in the darkness. Okay, so turn the lights off, tighten the grips on those wrists, boys, and get to work. I might make another coffee because this is quite fun, if you guys don't mind. Because I can go for a bit longer, but I need some more caffeine. And the third tip would be have fun, don't judge yourself, and don't compare yourself to others. Just keep doing it. Like, you might be crap for a year or a couple of years, you might be crap. Don't let it demotivate you. Producing takes a long time to get good at, so make sure you're having fun. Don't expect to get there overnight, and enjoy the journey. Hi, Chinu. I'm new. Hi, where are you from? What's the best way to make music theory or keys and scales more intuitive and easy to understand? I have a decent ear, but I can't say, oh, that A sharp, blah, blah. No, I can't do that, bro. I could never... If you play a note to me, I'm not going to be able to know what it is. Only, like, really skilled guitar players who spend their waking hour with a boring little guitar tuner going ding, ding. Only they will be able to tell you exactly what note something is. I can't do that. Yeah, you could study some... I don't have the exact resources to give you, but it can be fun to learn a little bit about scales, but in a fun way. You know, you can learn a bit about it without looking at without learning to read sheet music. I don't read sheet music. I don't really know too much. You know, a lot of it is done by ear. A lot of in drum and bass, we're breaking the rules anyway. We're not really following the rules often. So you don't have to become a music theory expert to make amazing music. As long as you've got a good ear, you know when to use the rules of a scale and you know when to break them. There's a few tips I can give you, like in drum and bass, just pick like a minor scale. Like if you're doing a track in F, pick the F minor scale, Google F minor scale. It'll tell you what notes to use. Use those notes and you know you're in the scale. Then break the scale a little bit by doing a semitone up or down. So from the F, you go up to F sharp. That'll be out of the scale, but it will give you a bit of tension and it will break the monotony of the scale a little bit. And that's a way you can like break the rules a bit, you know? So don't get religious on following the scale every time. The rules are meant to be broken, but at the same time, obey the rules. No, you know what I mean. Hang on, I'm just, I'll be right with you guys. I'm just gonna have a little instant coffee. Got my little
Nescafe Classic. Keeping it cheap and cheerful over here. I'm probably going to be up all night after this. It's already 7:30 here. And I usually stop drinking coffee way earlier than that. But nevertheless, be right back with you. We're going to keep going, keep the questions coming. Yeah, so where were we? Does it even matter if I mostly make jungle and breakcore? No, not really. A little bit, yeah, of course. If you're making like little melodies and lead lines and all that kind of nonsense, you know, you'll want them to sound musically nice, you know, so just pick a scale and stick with it. You can look at some other scales, like doesn't always have to be the F minor scale, or you could do like a, I don't even know how you say it, Phrygian scale or a pentatonic scale. Look at some of those. Look up some old songs that you like, some old, like, I like rock music, you know, I like classic rock and that kind of stuff, so I'll look at like an old Led Zeppelin track or like something like that, and I'll figure out what scale they used, and like just look at some old music, see what scales people use, and just yeah, try something like that, you know, just like find a cool scale and just use the notes in that, and then you know it's going to sound good. Yeah. How do you choose the scale when starting a new song? I never do, mate. I never choose a scale. Like I said, I'm not really religious about music theory. I don't really know too much about it. I just use my ears, mate, to be honest. Some people know, like, this got a bit weird. Some people know by ear, like, what sounds in scale and what sounds in key and what doesn't. Some people don't. If you're not sure, then pick a scale and stick to it, and just your ears will adjust over time. If you've got a good idea for what sounds like it's in tune and in key, and what sounds like it doesn't, then don't worry about the scale, really. Like if you're writing electronic music or drum and bass, like I never ever think about the scale. I just start putting sounds on the door, and then I just pick the ones that sound like they fit. That's all I do. I don't care about scales. It's good to know about them, but you don't have to care about them if you can hear whether something sounds good or not. That's more important, I think. Obviously, if you're composing classical music, then you're watching the wrong YouTuber. The low end on Orthodox is immense. Thank you, Andy D, my brother. Is there something you did differently to get it like that? Ooh. I've got to have a look into that project. There might be. There might be something different. I mean, it wouldn't really be anything revolutionary, other than probably it's a combination, I would guess. It's a combination of an excellent kick drum sample with a load of sub in it, a great sub bass sine wave that has a good amount of movement on it, like a bit of detuning on the sub to give it a bit of a life, you know. Maybe some harmonics in the higher end of the sub as well, and perfect side chaining. Those are the three keys. So yeah, great sub bass, not over distorted, just good sine wave with good movement on it. Great selection of kick drum, mixed together through side chaining to perfection. So that's, yeah, could be multiple side chains, could be 2 or 3 to get it perfect. Rebalancing it a few times until it's just spot on. You got that perfect blend where like the sub comes down just enough that the kick comes through, but like it's sort of a little bit blended together at the same time, so you don't lose too much of the sub. You got a bit of a balance, and then just pushing that with as much volume gain as you can into the clipper. That's it. before it distorts and then go back. Yeah, and then everything else is built on top of that. You know, once you do that first, I probably did that first thing. You know, the kick drum and the sub and the low end, smashed it into a clipper. See how loud it can go. Start there, then compose the rest of the track on top of it. Because you've got to build that foundation first before you apply everything else on top. Otherwise, you've got to rebuild the foundations of the house again after you've built the second and third story. You know? Yeah, that's it. Ethan, some doors have scale highlight options. I usually keep it C major, A minor anyway, just because it's familiar. Yeah, that's cool. You can look at some of these other scales as well, like I said, like the Phrygian, spelt like Phrygian, something like that is good. Or there's some other like more Middle Eastern scales. Classic scales like major and minor, they can sometimes be a little bit boring, but yeah, there's many look for some random scales and try them as well. Sexy, thank you. Thank you. I've always kept that mode off on my MPC because I wanted to learn, but it makes sense to use it as a map. Okay. Thoughts on Cubasses on iPad? That sounds horrendous. It's not for me. It's not for me. I don't know if you can make music on that, then by all means, Captain, go for it. Whatever keeps you creative. I couldn't like imagine finishing and writing a whole song on an iPad. Maybe if I was on a train and I was wanting to piss someone off next to me and not use headphones, I might use it then. But yeah, man, don't be afraid to use the notes not on the map either. That's where some of the really interesting stuff is. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, like when you know the scale, you know you can break it a bit as well. And breaking the scale will create tension. So that's the key thing usually. Sticking within the scale will keep things musical, structured, formulaic. It's going to work. But breaking the scale briefly, not forever, but in moments, will apply tension. And that can be useful, especially in electronic music. We often strive to give tension and release. Those 3 tips are really good. I definitely need to watch less YouTube. Yes, as a YouTuber who I don't rely on YouTube for my income at all, but YouTube helps me in my life. But I will say to you, with all of my heart, you should definitely watch less YouTube, all of you. I mean, when I was producing, I had no YouTube tutorials, maybe 1 or 2. I don't really remember ever using it. It was just on my own in the darkness with the DAW. These days it could be very easy, and it's easier to watch a YouTube tutorial and a video and think like you're learning something, but really you're not actively learning something, because all the stuff that you watch is not really going to sink into your brain in the same way as when you're doing it yourself and making mistakes. You know, it's like watching someone learn to drive versus just going out and learning to drive, you know. So 80% in the DAW, 20% bit of YouTube when you're, I don't know, when you're really lost. Or when you want to like learn a specific sound or specific technique, but spend most of the time in the DAW. The rules are meant to be broken. I love it, and I used to play guitar. That must be why I was worried. Thanks from Texas Brother. Yeah, for sure, man. You can learn. You probably know more about it than me. Big ups to all the Texas squad. Perfect pitch is genetic. Almost no one can identify pitches naturally. Yeah. Y'all are great. Thank you so much. Yeah, no worries, guys. Hope you have a great day out in Texas. In Texarkana. Different major modes sound really cool. If it sounds good, it's probably good, lol. Yeah. Cool live, thank you. By the way, how do you use de-esser? Oh, bro, I've never used that. I've never used a de-esser. What's the point? What does it even do? It's just one of those plugins that I've maybe like when someone's asked me to fix their audio for a podcast, I might have used a de-esser. I mean, I'm literally an idiot when it comes to de-essers. I couldn't even really tell you what it does. I think it's useless. It's a personal opinion. You're talking about on vocals, right? When you like when there's too much sibilance or something in a like is that when the high end, like when with the S's and the T's when they're too loud, is that where that is? If it's something like that, I would always have fixed that with an EQ or maybe with a multi-band compressor. But don't get me wrong, maybe the de-essers are useful in certain situations. I've just never bothered to use it. If there's one thing like in the frequency that's sticking out too much, I'll probably have EQ it down. Or if it's in a vocal and it's like only happening occasionally, then I might do like a multi-band compressor on it or something. Perhaps the de-esser works well for that situation. Actually, I don't really know. I've never really used them. Yeah. Yeah, sorry if that doesn't really help. There's always other ways around it. I play guitar as well. Phrygian is used a lot in Spanish music, like flamenco. Okay. There's another scale beginning with P, isn't there? Not pentatonic. There's a Phrygian. There's another like, there's like a Middle Eastern scale or something, isn't there? I can't remember what that one is. Cool that you play guitar. Do you use that in your music then? That would be if I played guitar, I would definitely make a lot of my music using it. I would produce a lot with recording some chord progressions and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good mode though, the Phrygian. My boyfriend plays Heartbreaker by Pat Benny. Oh. Yeah, I remember. Phrygian. My guitar teacher beat it into my head. Those were the good old days when our guitar teachers would beat us. I remember those days. I insisted on learning flamenco. Persian, yeah, I saw it. Pat Benatar, yes. Yes, Pat Benatar. That's I don't remember Heartbreak. I know the other. Hit Me With Your Best Shot. That's Pat Benatar, isn't it? Hit me with your best shot. That's my jam. I like that kind of music. I just fell out of my chair. That accent came out of nowhere, dude. Yeah, that was not Texas. That one, I don't think. That was my Matthew McConaughey impression. I think. It's what I love about high school girls. They get older. I stay the same age. No, I said that wrong. Wait, let me start again. That's what I love about high school girls. I get older. They stay the same age. Yes, they do. That sounded a bit Brad Pitt towards the end, I think. Gorlami. Arrivederci. Yeah, anyway. I'm here to teach you. I'm not here to do accents. This is not TikTok. All right. Mayo. I ended up learning flamenco because of a PS2 game. Ended up diving down a rabbit hole of Latin jazz. Well, that's a good hole to dive down, I would say. It's probably better to dive down that kind of rabbit hole than it is to dive down a rabbit hole of watching the BBC News on YouTube or something horrendous, or CNN, or I don't know, any news channel on YouTube rabbit hole. I'd rather be in a flamenco jazz hole. That sounds a lot more positive. OTT on everything? Yeah. Yeah, just why not? Just destroy everything below 500 hertz. Don't worry about it. Just crank up the high end and let the rest of it die. Yeah. The best jazz. I want some jazz tonight, actually. Maybe I should go and find a jazz bar somewhere here tonight. Maybe I'll go out to a jazz. I'll find some live jazz and I'll post a photo on the YouTube community page. I can't just stay in talking to you guys all night, can I? Like a loner. Oh dear. Persian, maybe. It might be the Persian. The Persian scale. I'll use guitar a little bit, but mainly I use the knowledge gained from it, like blues licks and stuff. Yeah, lovely, lovely, lovely blues licks. I love the harmonica blues licks as well. They are wonderful. Favorite guitar bands. British blues rock is my jam. That's my favourite stuff. Like Cream, Yardbirds. What else we got? Early Fleetwood Mac, the really early Fleetwood Mac. Yeah. Who else? I can't even think of bands anymore. Yeah. Steve Miller Band. They're not really British. Who else is British? Clapton. I said that. Cream. The new Yardbirds before they became Led Zeppelin. Who else is there? I can't remember. The Who? No, maybe. Gypsy Kings. They're great. You live down the street from Matthew? Really? Do you actually live down the street from Matthew McConaughey? That's hilarious. Say hi. I'm a Simple Man. Hendrix. Yeah, Hendrix is great. I never was a fanboy, but I like him a lot though. Anyway, looks like we're coming to the end of our road. Oh, we've got another one. What is the one insight that you can share which helped you the most in terms of producing? Oh my goodness. So many things I can say, and the one thing that I will say is the thing that most people that get pissed off when I say, because they don't agree with me a lot of the time. But I will say it again. The one thing that helped me the most in terms of producing: start with your bloody volume high. Don't do any of this nonsense of trying to mix everything at a low volume and then turn it up later. Start with everything as loud as it will go, and then you're going to know exactly what's wrong right there and fix it there. And don't, because if you mix low, when you turn it back up again, the mix is going to be different again. You're going to have to redo it again. So the number one insight that helped me the most: start at high volume, use the right sounds. If they're not working together at high volume straight away, there's an issue you need to fix right there and then. That's it. Any more questions, or can I go out and explore the town and get into trouble? Oh dear, this has been a lot of fun. We're at 88 minutes. This has been actually way longer than I thought. Thank you everyone for your commitment, and thank you for your questions. We can do this again. What made you go to Georgia? I was supposed to come here about 8 years ago. I had a flight booked here and I had a family emergency and I had to cancel my trip. Since then, I've always wanted to come back. Come for the first time. And it was in my heart in the last few months to come here. I can't really explain it in another way. I just felt convicted to go. I sometimes have a real strong feeling to go somewhere, you know? Call it a spiritual instinct or something, but I really, on my mind was like, I've got to go to Georgia. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I need to go there. And it's really great. It's really, really cheap, you know, as a Westerner. It's wonderful food, good people, good nature, very affordable, cheap flights.
what's not to like. Safe country, very peaceful country. Thank you. Which is, let me just answer this one. Which is interesting because the other day you posted a video on why not to mix into a limiter, whereas when you master the final limiter will change the final product. Yeah, essentially. You just want to, you know, start with your mix down, get it perfect. Start with it loud though, but get it perfect, and don't worry too much about limiters. Oh, it's your grandfather's land. Well, much respect to your granddad, and I'll go and do a bit of exploring now, I think. So thank you guys for joining in. We can do this again soon. If you guys enjoyed it, then we can do it again sometime. Peace out. Have a great rest of your day.